Admiral Yoon-ji Kim stood on the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the massive alien vessel that now belonged to humanity. The next foreign ambassador had presented it with flourishing gestures and what passed for a smile on their reptilian features, calling it a token of friendship between our worlds. But something felt wrong. "What do you think, Han?" she asked her second-in-command. Captain Han Sol-choi stepped closer to the window. "It's certainly impressive, Admiral. Biggest ship I've ever seen up close." "Too impressive for a gift," Kim murmured. She had spent 30 years reading human body language across cultures. The next Vorons were alien, but their diplomatic corps had studied humans well enough to mimic them. And Kim had caught the slight tension in the ambassador's posture when she accepted the ship, like someone waiting for a punchline. The vessel, now christened ESS Pandora, hung in Earth orbit like a jagged mountain range. Its hull was dark gray with patches of what might have once been decorative plating. Strange protrusions and recesses dotted its surface without apparent purpose. 2 days later, Kim floated through the ship's main corridor alongside Dr. Soo-bin Lee, the head engineer assigned to evaluate the gift. "Notice anything, Doctor?" Kim asked. Lee gestured at the corridor's bizarre layout. "Everything. These turns make no sense tactically. In battle, crew would waste precious minutes just moving between stations." She pointed to a junction where 3 hallways met at odd angles. "And look here, these support beams are positioned to create choke points. If there was damage, these would be the first to collapse, trapping crew members." Kim nodded. Accidents waiting to happen. Over the next week, a pattern emerged. Teams found weapons systems that appeared functional but had hidden design flaws. Navigation controls that would work perfectly during routine operations, but fail during emergency maneuvers. The engine room contained the most troubling discovery: power regulators designed to rupture if the engines were pushed beyond 80% capacity. "They wanted us to take this ship into battle," Kim told the Earth Defense Council during an emergency meeting. The holographic faces of 12 officials looked back at her with expressions ranging from concern to outrage. "The next Vorons designed it to fail catastrophically once we deployed it, likely during our first serious engagement." "Are you certain, Admiral?" asked Defense Minister Jun Ho-ba. "Show them," Kim said. Dr. Lee activated a simulation showing the cascade failure that would occur if the ship engaged its engines at combat speed. The hologram displayed a massive explosion that would not only destroy the Pandora, but any escort vessels within a significant radius. "They gave us a time bomb," said Minister Bai, his face grim. "Not just a bomb," Kim corrected. "A message. They think we're naive, that we would blindly trust them and rush their gift into service. They expected us to lose our best officers and our flagship in one stroke." "Should we confront them about this betrayal?" asked Foreign Affairs Secretary Mai Sun-yoon. Kim shook her head. "No, I have a different proposal." She outlined her plan. Instead of revealing that they'd discovered the trap, humanity would pretend ignorance. Meanwhile, every inch of the ship would be dismantled, studied, and understood. The next Vorons clearly possessed technology far beyond Earth's current capabilities. This gift was an opportunity to learn. "We'll announce that we're conducting a thorough study of the vessel before integration into our fleet," Kim explained. "That gives us cover for keeping it in dock. Meanwhile, our best minds will take it apart down to the molecular level." The Council approved her plan. Within days, hundreds of engineers, physicists, and military analysts swarmed over the Pandora. They established secure facilities within the ship's cavernous holds, setting up labs where components could be safely examined. Dr. Lee led the initial safety protocols. "Nothing is to be activated without triple redundancy checks," she instructed her teams. "Assume everything is designed to kill you." The work was painstaking. Each section had to be isolated, scanned, and carefully disconnected before removal. Some components contained secondary and even tertiary fail-safes designed to trigger if tampering was detected. 3 months into the project, Kim received an unexpected call from Dr. Lee. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately." When Kim arrived at the makeshift lab deep within the Pandora's engineering section, Lee was standing next to what appeared to be a small metallic sphere suspended in a containment field. "This is part of their propulsion system," Lee explained, her eyes bright with excitement. "We thought it was just another booby trap, but it's actually a quantum field generator. It's decades, maybe centuries beyond our technology." "Can we use it?" Kim asked. "Not as designed, but now that we understand how they sabotaged it, we can see the true engineering underneath. Admiral, this single component could revolutionize our understanding of faster-than-light travel." Similar discoveries followed. Beneath each sabotage system lay marvels of engineering and science. The weapons systems, once stripped of their fatal flaws, were found to be far more powerful than initially presented. The navigation computers contained star charts extending far beyond human exploration. 6 months into the project, Kim stood before the Defense Council again. "The Nextvorans gave us more than they intended," she reported. "They showed us their hand, both their technological capabilities and their true intentions toward humanity. They also greatly underestimated us." "What do you recommend, Admiral?" asked Minister Ba. "We continue as planned. We learn everything we can from their technology. And when the time comes, we show them that their trap has become our greatest asset." The Council unanimously approved continued funding for what was now called the Pandora Project. In secret facilities across Earth and Luna, scientists began developing new technologies based on what they'd learned. Admiral Kim remained on station, overseeing the operation personally. One evening, as she looked out at the partially dismantled ship, Captain Choi joined her. "The Nextvorans have been asking when we plan to deploy their gift," he reported. Kim smiled slightly. "Tell them we're still studying it. That humans are cautious by nature." "And what should I tell our people?" "The engineers are asking when we'll start rebuilding." Kim turned to look at her second-in-command. "Tell them soon. But when we rebuild the Pandora, it won't be what the Nextvorans gave us. It will be what we choose to make of it." Dr. Ta Wu Park wiped sweat from his brow as he stared at the readings on his tablet. The numbers didn't make sense, or rather, they made perfect, terrifying sense. "Run the test again," he told his assistant, Sun Hai Kang. She nodded and reset the equipment. They were in a sealed chamber deep within the ESS Pandora, examining what appeared to be an auxiliary power coupling. The team had been methodically working through the ship's systems for weeks. "Same result, Doctor," Sun Hai said, frowning at her screen. "The radiation signature is unmistakable. When connected to the main power grid and activated, this would release enough gamma radiation to kill everyone on board within hours." Taigu sat back on his heels. This wasn't random. This was the third lethal feature they'd found hidden in the ship's systems. "It's not a decommissioned vessel," he said quietly. "It's a trap." That evening, Taigu presented his findings to Admiral Kim and the project leadership. The room was silent as he showed them the evidence. Radiation emitters disguised as power regulators, engine safeguards that would fail precisely when needed most, navigation systems programmed to miscalculate jump coordinates in combat situations. "The pattern is clear," Ta Wu concluded. "The Nextvorans designed this ship to kill its crew if used in any meaningful capacity." Admiral Kim's face remained impassive, but her eyes hardened. "Recommendation, Doctor. We need to strip everything down to the basic components. Anything that can't be fully understood should be removed and isolated. It will take longer, but it's the only safe approach." Instead of dismay, a small smile appeared on the Admiral's face. "Then that's exactly what we'll do. And Dr. Park, you'll lead the engineering team." Taiwu was surprised but accepted the responsibility. The next day, his team expanded from 30 to 300 as the best minds from Earth's research divisions joined the project. They established a strict protocol. Every component was scanned, analyzed, and tested in isolation before being deemed safe. They worked in 3 shifts, 24 hours a day. The next foreign ambassador inquired several times about when humans would deploy their gift, and each time, Admiral Kim politely explained that humans were thorough in their studies. 3 weeks into the expanded operation, Min Ji-yoon, a quantum physicist, called Ta-Wu to her lab. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a device they had extracted from the ship's navigation system. It was about the size of a lunchbox, with a complex array of crystalline structures inside. "We thought it was just another sabotaged positioning unit, but when we bypassed the failing mechanism, we found this." She activated the device. A holographic display appeared above it, showing star systems in incredible detail, far more precise than any human star chart. "This is a quantum positioning system," Minji explained. "It doesn't just track location, it somehow reads the quantum signature of space itself. Dr. Park, this is at least a century beyond our current technology." Ta-Wu stared at the display. "Can we replicate it?" "Not yet, but we can definitely use it." Similar discoveries followed. Jae-hoon Lee, a weapons specialist, found that the ship's seemingly outdated laser arrays actually contained focusing crystals of unprecedented purity. Once the sabotage targeting systems were removed, the weapons were capable of precision strikes no human vessel could match. Young-ho Kim, a materials scientist, discovered that the hull's alloy contained elements not found on the periodic table. The material could absorb and redistribute energy in ways that made it nearly impervious to known weapons. Most exciting was the power core. After carefully removing 6 different lethal failsafes, Ta-Wu's team found that it operated on principles only theorized by human physicists, harnessing energy from subspace itself. 6 months into the project, Ta-Wu called a meeting of the research leads. "We've made remarkable progress," he began. "We've identified and neutralized 47 different sabotage mechanisms, but we've also learned more about advanced technology in half a year than humanity might have discovered in 50 years on our own." He displayed a holographic model of the ship with color-coded sections. Red areas remain dangerous. Yellow areas are understood but need replacement components. Green areas are functional and safe. Almost half the ship now glowed green. "The Nextwarans made a mistake," said Sunhai. "They showed us their technology while assuming we wouldn't be smart enough to see through their traps. Or patient enough," added Minji. "They clearly don't understand how methodical humans can be." Ta-Wu nodded. "I believe we're ready for Phase 2. We begin not just understanding their technology, but improving it." The next day, he presented the plan to Admiral Kim. She listened carefully, asking pointed questions about timelines and resource requirements. "So you're saying we can not only make this ship safe, but make it better than anything the Nextwarans have?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral. Their sabotage actually revealed their vulnerabilities. For instance, the radiation emitters showed us exactly what kind of radiation their crews are most vulnerable to. The navigation sabotage told us how their ships calculate jump points." Kim smiled. "They handed us their playbook while trying to eliminate us from the game." "Precisely. And there's more. We found manufacturing methods in the ship's fabrication bay that could revolutionize our industrial capacity. If we share some of these advancements with civilian sectors, carefully, of course, we could advance human development by decades in just a few years." Authorization came the next day. The project expanded again, now including planners who would determine how to safely introduce these technologies to human society. 1 year after the gift arrived, Ta-Wu stood with Admiral Kim in what would become the new bridge of the ESS Pandora. Around them, engineers were installing human-designed interfaces that would control Nextwaran technology. "They thought we would blindly accept their gift and rush it into service," Ta-Wu said. "They never considered we might take it apart piece by piece." "Pride," Kim replied. "They saw us as primitive. Their mistake." "The new power core goes online next week," Ta-Wu reported. "We've tripled the efficiency of their original design. The weapons systems now have targeting capabilities that can disable rather than destroy if we choose. And the hull regeneration technology we've developed from their materials science could change everything about how we build ships. Kim placed a hand on the nearest console, which hummed softly with power. How long until the Pandora can fly? 3 months to complete essential systems, 6 for optimal performance. Good. And Dr. Park? Yes, Admiral. Make sure the Nexvorans don't realize what we've accomplished until it's too late for them to do anything about it. Taiwu smiled. That was always part of the plan. As they left the bridge, neither noticed the small Nexvoran probe that had been watching the shipyard for months, unable to penetrate the human security measures, its operators becoming increasingly concerned about the lack of the expected catastrophic failure. Soon, they would have far more to worry about. Captain Jeho Kang walked through the corridors of the ESS Pandora, running his hand along the smooth walls. What once had been a maze designed to trap and kill now flowed with purpose. The same twisting passages that would have confused and delayed a crew in crisis now housed backup systems, emergency equipment, and defensive choke points that could be controlled from the bridge. Impressive, isn't it? Admiral Kim said, falling into step beside him. 2 years ago, this was a death trap. Now it's the most advanced ship in human history. Jaiho nodded. At 42, he had commanded 3 vessels in Earth's fleet, but nothing like this. The Pandora was special, a testament to human determination and ingenuity. The Nexvorans check in monthly to ask when we'll be deploying their gift. Kim continued. They're getting impatient. Their ambassador practically demanded a status update last week. What did you tell them? Jaiho asked. That we're almost ready. That we're grateful for their generosity. Kim smiled. It wasn't a lie. We are almost ready. They entered the engine room, where Dr. Park was supervising the final calibrations of the propulsion system. What had once been designed to catastrophically fail now pulsed with cool blue light. The original power core remained but was now surrounded by human-designed safety systems and enhancements. Captain Kang, Dr. Park greeted him. Perfect timing. We're about to test the new drive configuration. Jaiho watched as engineers initiated the sequence. The core brightened, energy flowing through channels that had been rebuilt from scratch. On a display screen, performance metrics climbed steadily past what should have been possible. We've doubled the original output while using 30% less energy, Dr. Park explained. The Nexvorans designed a good system beneath the sabotage. We made it better. Will it be faster than their ships? Jaiho asked. Significantly, and more maneuverable. We replaced their standardized control systems with adaptive ones that learn from the pilot's behavior. Next, they toured the weapons bay. The original armaments had been designed to appear formidable, but would have failed in actual combat. Now, they gleamed with deadly purpose. We kept the external appearance nearly identical, explained Weapons Officer Min Soo Choi. But inside, everything has changed. The targeting systems now operate at quantum speed. The energy weapons can switch between lethal and non-lethal settings, and we've added our own innovations. He pointed to what looked like standard missile tubes. These contain our new smart projectiles. They can change course mid-flight or split into multiple warheads. The Nexvorans have nothing like them. The bridge was perhaps the most transformed area. What had been an inefficient space with poorly positioned stations was now a model of human-centered design. Each station was positioned for optimal communication. Display screens showed comprehensive information without overwhelming the operators. We're ready to begin crew training, Admiral Kim told Jaiho. You'll have 6 months with your team in simulators before the maiden voyage. Jaiho's crew was exceptional, the best in their fields. His second-in-command, Commander Soo-Jin Park, had graduated first in her class at the Space Academy. His navigation officer, Lieutenant Hajun Lee, had won awards for his ability to plot complex courses through asteroid fields. Each crew member had been carefully selected not just for their skills, but for their adaptability. Training took place in a massive simulator built to replicate the Pandora's unique systems. The crew lived together, worked together, and gradually learned to function as a single unit. They practiced standard procedures, but also prepared for the unexpected. The Nextwarens will eventually realize what we've done, Jaho told his officers during a briefing. When that happens, we need to be ready for anything. 5 months into training, Admiral Kim called Jiho to a secure meeting room. Representatives from Earth's government were present, their faces serious. The Nextwarens are growing suspicious, said Defense Minister Ba. Their probes have been detected near our shipyards with increasing frequency. We need to launch sooner than planned. Jiho considered the implications. My crew is nearly ready. We can be prepared in 3 weeks. You have 2, the minister replied. Our intelligence suggests the Nextwarens may be preparing to take back their gift, by force if necessary. The final 2 weeks were intense. Last-minute adjustments to the ship's systems were completed while the crew ran continuous drills. Sleep was minimal. Pressure was high. But with each passing day, Jiho felt more confident in both his ship and his people. The night before launch, he stood alone on the observation deck, looking at the stars. Tomorrow, they would venture into space in a vessel that represented the best and worst of interspecies relations, a trap-turned triumph. Couldn't sleep. It was Sujin, his second-in-command. Just thinking, Jiho replied, about what this mission means. It means showing the Nextwarens they made a mistake, she said simply. Yes, but I hope it means more than that. This ship could have started a war. Instead, it might help us establish a more honest relationship with them. Launch day arrived with little fanfare. For security reasons, the departure was kept low-key. Only essential personnel were present in the control room as the Pandora's engines powered up for the first time. Jiho sat in the captain's chair, feeling the slight vibration as the enhanced power core came online. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency, each movement precise and confident. All systems green, Captain, reported Commander Park. Release docking clamps, Jiho ordered. With a gentle shudder, the Pandora broke free from the station that had been its home for over 2 years. Thrusters fired, guiding the massive vessel clear of Earth's orbital lanes. Set course for the Lunar Observatory, Jiho said. Let's see what this ship can do. As the Pandora accelerated, Jiho felt a sense of pride unlike anything in his career. This ship, this miracle of human perseverance, moved with grace and power that belied its troubled beginning. Unknown to the crew, 3 Nextvoran scout ships lurked at the edge of the solar system, watching. Their commanders had been ordered to observe the human vessel, expecting it to fail spectacularly once it attempted faster-than-light travel. Instead, they watched in disbelief as the Pandora reached the moon in record time, executing maneuvers that should have been impossible for its design. When the ship vanished into FTL, leaving not the expected explosion, but only the clean signature of a perfect jump, the Nextvoran observers knew their leadership had gravely miscalculated. The humans had not only survived the trap, they had mastered it. Aboard the Pandora, Jiho smiled as the stars streaked past the view screen. Status report, he called. All systems functioning at optimal levels. Commander Park replied. The ship is performing beyond expectations, Captain. Good, Jiho said. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do with a second chance. Captain Jiho Kang stood on the bridge of the ESS Pandora, studying the tactical display. 3 massive Nextvoran dreadnoughts formed a triangular blockade around the small green planet of Enteri. The peaceful Enteri people had refused to surrender their mineral-rich moon to Nextvoran mining operations. Now they were paying the price. Scan complete, Captain, reported Lieutenant Min Woo-baek at the science station. The dreadnoughts match our intelligence profiles. Each one carries enough firepower to level a small continent. Jiho nodded. 6 months after the Pandora's maiden voyage, this was their first real test. Earth Command had received the Enteri distress call 3 days ago. The Pandora was the only ship close enough to respond. "Are they detecting us?" Jai-Ho asked. "No, sir," Minwoo replied. "Our adaptive stealth systems are functioning perfectly. As far as they know, we're just background radiation." This stealth capability had been developed from studying the radiation masking technology that would have poisoned the crew in the original design. Earth's engineers had turned it outward, creating a system that could hide the Pandora's energy signature. "Communications, open a channel to the lead next foreign vessel," Jai-Ho ordered. Lieutenant Hai Jin-moon nodded. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jai-Ho Kang of the Earth ship Pandora. Your blockade of the Enteri homeworld violates interstellar law. Withdraw your forces immediately." There was a pause before a harsh voice responded. "This is Admiral Vextor of the Nexvoran Confederation. The Primitids sent one ship, and our gift ship at that." Laughter echoed across the channel. "You have 1 hour to leave this system before we consider your presence an act of war." Jai-Ho cut the communication and turned to his first officer. "Commander Park, battle stations." Su-Jin nodded, her face calm as she relayed the order. Throughout the ship, crew members moved with practiced efficiency to their combat positions. "Weapons status?" Jai-Ho asked. "All systems green," reported Min Soo Choi. "Non-lethal options ready as ordered." Jai-Ho had been clear with his crew. They would disable, not destroy. This was about demonstrating capability, not starting a war. "Navigation, plot an approach that keeps us in their sensor blind spots," Jai-Ho ordered. Ha-Jun Lee, the navigation officer, worked his console with quick, precise movements. "Course plotted, Captain, using their own ship designs against them. Their standard sensor arrays have fixed blind spots that they compensate for with overlapping fields between ships. But if we move fast enough and hit the gaps," Jai-Ho said, "they won't see us until we're right on top of them." Ha-Jun finished with a small smile. Jai-Ho nodded. "Execute." The Pandora moved silently through space, its enhanced engines barely registering on even the most sensitive equipment. Jai-Ho watched the tactical display as they slipped between the sensor networks of the dreadnoughts, exploiting weaknesses that the Nexvorans never expected humans to understand. "In position behind the flagship," Ha-Jun announced. "They still haven't detected us." "Weapons, target their primary power conduits and propulsion systems," Jai-Ho ordered. "Commander Park, prepare boarding teams." "Sir?" Su-Jin looked surprised. "We're going to take that ship intact," Jai-Ho explained. "I want their command crews secured and their databases copied." Understanding dawned on her face. "Yes, sir. Teams standing by." Jai-Ho took a deep breath. "Disengage stealth systems. Let them see us." The Pandora shimmered into visibility less than a kilometer behind the Nexvoran flagship. Before they could react, Min Soo fired the main weapons array. Beams of concentrated energy struck with surgical precision, targeting systems that had been specifically redesigned to counter Nexvoran shielding technology. On the view screen, the massive dreadnought's lights flickered and died, its engines sputtering out. "Direct hit," Min Soo reported. "Their power grid is down, weapons and propulsion offline." "The other ships are responding," Minwoo called from the science station. "They're powering weapons and moving to surround us." Jai-Ho nodded. "As expected. Navigation, execute pattern Delta." The Pandora moved with impossible speed, darting between the two remaining dreadnoughts. As they passed the second ship, Min Soo fired again, this time targeting its weapon systems. The massive cannons on the Nexvoran vessel sparked and went dark. "That's two," Jai-Ho said calmly. The third dreadnought opened fire, but the Pandora was already moving, its enhanced engines pushing it to speeds no Nexvoran ship could match. The shots passed through empty space. "Their targeting systems can't keep up with our maneuverability," Minwoo noted. "They're trying to predict our movements based on standard human ship capabilities." Jai-Ho smiled slightly. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Pandora spun on its axis and accelerated directly toward the third dreadnought. The next Voran ship fired continuously, but the Pandora weaved through the barrage with precision that seemed impossible for a vessel its size. "Weapons, disable their bridge and engine room," Jai-Ho ordered as they closed the distance. Min-Su executed the command perfectly. Targeted shots hit the dreadnought's command center, not destroying it but overloading its systems. The massive ship drifted, powerless. All 3 targets neutralized, Su-Jin reported. Total engagement time, 11 minutes and 42 seconds. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. They had just defeated 3 of the most powerful warships in known space in less than 12 minutes. "Launch boarding shuttles," Jai-Ho ordered, breaking the moment. "Secure the flagship. I want to speak with Admiral Vex-Tor personally." 20 minutes later, the next Voran admiral was escorted onto the Pandora's bridge. The tall reptilian officer looked around with shock, barely concealed on his alien features. "Impossible," he hissed. "This ship was designed to fail." Jai-Ho stood from his captain's chair. "It was designed to kill us. Instead, we learned from it." "You could not have mastered our technology so quickly," Vex-Tor insisted. "We didn't just master it," Jai-Ho replied. "We improved it." He gestured to a nearby console. "Your weapons had deliberate flaws in their targeting systems. We fixed those and added variable output controls. Your engines were sabotaged to explode after extended use. We not only repaired them but increased their efficiency by 40%. Vex-Tor's scales darkened with what Jai-Ho had learned was the next Voran equivalent of pallor. "Every trap you laid for us became a lesson," Jai-Ho continued. "Every sabotaged system revealed your technological capabilities and your weaknesses. What do you want?" Vex-Tor asked finally. "Immediately. The end of this blockade. The Antari will retain their independence and their resources. Your ships will be returned to you once repairs are complete, minus their weapons systems. And in the long term." Jai-Ho looked directly into the Admiral's yellow eyes. "A renegotiation of all Nextvoran protectorate agreements under the supervision of a galactic council that includes Earth and the former vassal states." Vex-Tor hissed. "The Confederation will never." "They will," Jai-Ho interrupted, "because the alternative is watching more of their fleets defeated by the very technology they tried to use against us." As Vex-Tor was led away, Su-Jin approached Jai-Ho. "Do you think they'll agree to terms?" Jai-Ho looked at the view screen, where the disabled dreadnoughts floated against the backdrop of stars. "They don't have much choice. They tried to eliminate us with a single stroke, and instead created their worst nightmare." "What's that?" she asked. "A humanity that understands their technology better than they do." The Grand Hall of the Galactic Diplomatic Center buzzed with voices as representatives from 23 spacefaring species gathered. At the center of attention stood Captain Jai-Ho Kang in his formal Earth uniform, the blue and silver colors standing out among the varied attire of the alien diplomats. "The hero of Antari," whispered a small green-skinned delegate to her neighbor. "They say his ship defeated 3 Nextvoran dreadnoughts in less than 15 minutes. 6 months had passed since the Pandora's decisive victory at Antari. What had begun as a single intervention had grown into something much larger. The news had spread across known space through trade routes and diplomatic channels. Species that had suffered under Nextvoran expansion washed recordings of the battle with hope. The Nextvoran ambassador, Zexalar, approached Jai-Ho with barely contained anger. His tall, reptilian form towered over the human captain. "Your government refuses our reasonable demands," Zexalar said, loud enough for nearby delegates to hear. "The technology you use was never meant to be in human hands." Jai-Ho kept his face neutral. "Ambassador, your government presented the ship as a gift to humanity. There were no conditions attached to that gift. It was not meant to be dismantled and studied." Zexalar hissed. "Perhaps your government should have specified that," Jai-Ho replied calmly. "In human culture, when someone gives a gift, the recipient may use it as they see fit. Other delegates had stopped their conversations to watch the exchange. Many wore small smiles. "You turned our goodwill gesture into a weapon against us," the ambassador insisted. Jai-Ho raised an eyebrow. Was it truly goodwill? My engineers found 47 separate sabotage mechanisms in that ship, each one designed to kill humans. Murmurs spread through the hall. Most species had heard rumors, but this direct confrontation confirmed what many suspected. Zexalar's scales darkened. An outrageous accusation. "Would you like to see the technical reports? We kept very thorough records." Jai-Ho's voice remained even. "Perhaps we should discuss the radiation emitters hidden in the crew quarters, or the engine failsafe is designed to rupture during emergency maneuvers." The next foreign ambassador retreated without another word. As he left, several delegates moved closer to Jai-Ho. "Captain, my government wishes to discuss a potential alliance with Earth," said a blue-skinned diplomat from Caroline. "We have suffered Next-foreign protection for too long." Similar requests came from representatives of the Tasic Federation, the Vrol Collective, and 4 other systems. Jai-Ho directed them to Earth's diplomatic corps, who were already working overtime to handle the flood of alliance requests. 3 weeks later, the Pandora responded to a distress call from a refugee transport under attack by pirates in the Cygnus sector. The ship arrived to find the transport damaged but intact, surrounded by 6 smaller attack vessels. "Open a channel to all ships," Jai-Ho ordered. Lieutenant Hai-Jin Moon nodded. "Channel open, sir." "This is Captain Kang of the ESS Pandora. Stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded." The pirate leader responded with a laugh. "One ship. You're outnumbered 6 to 1. Jai-Ho glanced at his weapons officer. "Target their propulsion systems. Non-lethal force only." The Pandora moved with impossible speed, its enhanced engines allowing it to circle the pirate vessels faster than they could track. Precise weapon strikes disabled each ship in turn. Within 5 minutes, all 6 vessels drifted powerless. "Should we board them, Captain?" Commander Park asked. Jai-Ho shook his head. "Send their coordinates to the Galactic Patrol. Our priority is the refugees." The transport carried families from 3 different systems, all fleeing Next-foreign expansion. When Jai-Ho boarded to check on their condition, a small child approached him, wide-eyed. "Are you from the special ship?" the child asked in broken standard. Jai-Ho knelt to the child's level. "Special ship. The one that was a trap but became a hero instead," the child explained, repeating what was clearly a story told among the refugees. Jai-Ho smiled. "Yes, I suppose that's us." Word of the rescue spread, adding to the Pandora's growing legend. The ship that was meant to fail had become a symbol of hope. 6 months later, Jai-Ho sat in a meeting with Admiral Kim and Earth's Defense Council. Reports from across the galaxy filled display screens around them. "The Next-foreign Confederation has withdrawn from 3 disputed systems in the past month," reported Defense Minister Ba. "Their expansionist policy appears to be on hold. They're reassessing their position," Admiral Kim said. "The humiliation at Interi forced them to recognize they're not as dominant as they believed." Jai-Ho nodded. "They underestimated humanity once. They won't make that mistake again." "And the Alliance Network?" asked Foreign Minister Yoon. "Growing steadily," Jai-Ho replied. 17 species have signed cooperative agreements with Earth. Trade has increased 300%. Knowledge exchange programs are thriving. Admiral Kim looked at Jai-Ho with pride. "All because we turned their trap against them." 1 year after Intari, the Pandora docked at Earth's orbital station for refit and crew rotation. Jai-Ho stood on the observation deck with Dr. Ta-Woo Park, watching as technicians applied the latest upgrades to the ship's systems. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first found those radiation emitters?" Jai-Ho asked. Ta-Woo shook his head. "Never. I was just trying to keep our people from being killed by a treacherous gift. Now look at us. The Galactic Council recognizes Earth as a major power. Species that never would have noticed humanity are seeking our alliance. All because the Next-foreigners thought we were primitive and gullible." Ta Wu said with a small smile. A young ensign approached them. "Captain, there's a transmission for you from the Nexvoran High Command." Jai Ho raised an eyebrow. "Put it through to the private comm room." The face of High Commander Vex Nor, the leader of the Nexvoran military, appeared on the screen. His expression was grim. "Captain Kang, my government has authorized me to open discussions regarding a formal peace treaty between our peoples." Jai Ho kept his expression neutral despite his surprise. "I'm pleased to hear that, High Commander." "Do not misunderstand," Vex Nor said. "This is not surrender. But we recognize that continued conflict would be costly. Peace benefits us all," Jai Ho replied simply. After the transmission ended, he returned to the observation deck. Below, Earth turned slowly, beautiful and fragile in the vastness of space. "Good news?" Ta Wu asked. "The best kind," Jai Ho said. "The Nexvorans want peace." As he looked at the Pandora, gleaming in the starlight, Jai Ho thought about the strange journey that had brought them here. A ship designed as humanity's coffin had instead become its shield. A trap had been transformed into triumph. And a species that had been dismissed as primitive had proven itself worthy of the stars.